Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. What was the weirdest, most inappropriate or most unexpected thing you were asked during a job interview? What does your father do for work? I was like 24 years old. Pretty sure he was seeing how little he could pay me. I got asked this. More like wanted to know my background. Some folks there knew my mom, as she designed one of their employee insurance benefits with one of the older HR people there. They weren't not prepared for my answer. Has deceased but was assigned to this factory XX years back. He designed the wastewater treatment here and some other things before you guys took over the factory. What are the chances of you leaving your spouse if we relocate you? You mean ... for a period of time until we figure out our living situation? No. I mean, would you divorce him if you had to move to, say, Europe for the job? Wow. Also, this was a local advertising agency. They did not even have that many national clients. But also, the interviewer then continuously called and messaged me 4 days after I declined their offer, so I do not know. This was quite a while ago, and I was interviewing for a janitorial position at a private middle school. The interview was going well. The interviewer was asking me why I wanted to work there, what my previous job experience was, etc. The bog standard interview questions. Out of absolutely nowhere, he asks, "You're not attracted to underage girls, are you?" I was taken aback for a moment and just sort of stared at him waiting for clarification. I think it only occurred to him after having said it how weird the question was, and he quickly started to give some context. Turns out the previous janitor had attempted some sexual advances on some underage students. I was just there to sweep the floors for some cash, not commit a felony. In context, makes sense. Out of context, sketchy as hell. I had a similar question at a women's university. I mentioned I was married, and they immediately asked if she was a former student. I was stupefied and nearly shouted no, she's my age. I was asked over the span of about 5 questions if I would let employees steal. What would you do if you saw a customer walk out the door with product? I would tell the manager and not confront them. The correct answer for almost all retail companies, but not this one apparently. What if it was your store? Many retailers and you are the manager? I would try to stop them or call the cops. What if it was an employee trying to steal something really cheap like a $1 water bottle? I would not let them steal, so I'd tell a manager. What if they have been having family troubles and their checks haven't not come in, so they have no money but need that water? I would offer to pay for them, so they do not feel like they have to steal. What if you left your wallet at home that day? What am I even supposed to say to that? I always love these absurd questions for retail. Well, if I answer this question, I'm sure the next will be, if a meteor comes out of the sky and kills us all, then what? ... Is this a test to see when I will say I do not know? Or is it a test to show that I can think on my feet until it becomes completely insane? I had a guy end my interview by asking me what my favorite ABBA song was. I was so caught off guard and honestly kind of creeped out, because I could not figure out how he knew that I loved ABBA. I found out later that when he spoke to my references, he asked them to tell him something about me that was not on my resume, and my old boss told him that I was a huge ABBA fan. I kind of like this. It shows the employer is actually interested in you instead of a name from a pile of CVs. For a net security position, if your employer asked you to do something illegal, would you do it? ... Now. Before anyone hollers that this is not inappropriate, I found out later that the job had been vacated by a friend of mine, who they fired after he refused to do something illegal for them. First question of an interview. Wait, Aaron, not you the guy who owes me that $1,000? Realized after 3 of the longest seconds in my life that he was joking, but boy, that caught me off guard. I had an adversarial interview once, passed the skills interview, and was sent on to the guy who would be my manager if I got the job. He made a big show of throwing my resume in the trash and told me the next best use would be to wipe his ass with it, since he went to Yale and I did not. And why did I think I deserved the job? I did not say anything. Just got up and walked out. This was at 8. Remember them? Lol. Lovers, an adult toy / accessories shop in the US, hands you an elephant-sized, wiggly ass dildo and asks you to describe it. You giggle, you lose. I lost. HMN. Yes. The model is roughly shoulder to wrist length, with the thickness of the forearm. Model has a certain flexibility to it, allowing a smooth mounting, yet it is rigid enough as to remove annoyance from the actual insertion. The model has taken the likeness of equine genitalia, with a blunt, flared head and a medial ring. Ultimately, if one were to ask this humble salesman his opinion of the model, he would say that this model is of use only to experts with extreme and rigorous training, and that if one were looking for an amateur model, he would direct them toward the casual section, and perhaps to train themselves before attempting a model such as this. Which teacher did you hate the most, and why? I answered that I had disagreed with a teacher over a book. I did not like it, and it was her favorite, and she knocked points off all my future tests. Interviewer said it was unprofessional to not like a teacher, and I clearly had no interview experience. So yeah, did not get that internship. I know it's common to ask about previous employers to see if you talk malarkey about them, but your answer was so tame. Really strange stuff. Would I be okay with going shirtless? Small private casino company that mostly did charity fake money events with prizes like champagne and chocolates, corporate gigs, etc. I was hired as a blackjack croupier, and that's the job I went for. Advertised as above. Corporate events and charity events. Dealing blackjack. Must be good with people. If you knew me, that would make your gut bust. The woman interviewing me gave me the job, then asked would I be willing to wear just collars and cuffs like a male stripper. Turns out they also did stag and hen nights, and would ask new employees if they'd like to be considered for those shifts. But it requires the women to wear bikinis and men to wear only collars and cuffs. No shirt but wearing dress pants. They paid twice the rate for it. Was not expecting that question, I can be honest. Does lie detector during the hiring process count? I was asked if it ever had sex with animals. That question certainly caught me off guard. Edit. This was for a job as a sheriff's deputy. I was a private nanny. I have been asked many questions that would not be considered appropriate in any other job interview. I have been asked how often I shower, whether I have ever been to a therapist/psychiatrist, if I'm promiscuous, if I have ever had an affair with an employer, how much I typically eat in a day, do I have a partner, what religion I am, whether I was gay or straight, if I had ever been bribed or had anyone ever attempt to bribe me, whether I had ever taken nude pictures, etc. Not all in the same interview. If I have ever had an affair with an employer. That's just the dad trying to figure out his chances. What kind of porn do you like? I was in the process of getting a government job that required a high security clearance. I was being interviewed by an agent. Most of the questions were pretty basic, but this one caught me out of left field. They didn't ask me that. They asked me if I was a sexual deviant. I made her explain what she thought a sexual deviant was. So, what did she think a sexual deviant was? You know, whips and chains, stuff like that. I was interviewing for a hiring manager position at a temp agency in Toledo, Ohio. The interviewer asked me how comfortable would I be if business clients only wanted to hire certain types of employees. I probed for more information. After several probing questions, it was apparent that some of the businesses who hired this agency to find talent only wanted people from certain zip codes and wanted to omit certain zip codes altogether. I did not get the job because I stated that I would find and deliver the most qualified candidate regardless of where they lived. No biggie. I'm in a much better place now. I once had a cold on the day of a phone interview at a speech therapist office. I started the call by apologizing that I was losing my voice and explained I had a cold. The interviewer, a speech therapist, asked me twice what was wrong with my voice. The first time she asked, I repeated that I had a cold and asked if that was relevant to the interview. It was not. She assured me. The second time she asked, I told her thanks, but I was not interested anymore. Can you make your breasts smaller? They might be a distraction for some of our patients here. This was at a hospital, and I was not wearing anything provocative. I just have big boobs. I did not get the job. They told me it was because I was too inexperienced. Listen, I have nothing against hiring a chick for the job, but I cannot afford to have you go off on maternity leave. So are you planning on getting knocked up in the near future? ISN, not that question straight up illegal. 100%, but I'm a practical woman who knows sometimes you gotta play the game. Should have took the job then immediately got pregnant. Name your kid Spite. A while back I got out of the Navy. That old saying is true, swear like a sailor. I applied for a program called Helmets to Hard Hats that finds jobs in skilled labor trades for veterans. My father is good friends with a guy who is in charge of the local branch of an elevator company. So I applied to the International Union of Elevator Constructors and was granted an interview. Union interviews, as I'm told, usually consist of several prominent members of the union. In this case it included my father's friend. So I show up to the interview and sit down with 5 high-ranking union members. My name is Richard. My dad's friend says, "So Richard, what do you like to go by, Rick?" "Ricky." "Richard Dick." Before I could stop myself I sarcastically replied, "It's cock actually." I pretended like everything was normal and the interview continued after an awkward pause. I did get the job and was admitted as an apprentice. Everyone still calls me cock. TLDR. Guy asked me, "Richard, if I go by Dick?" I sarcastically replied cock, and now everyone calls me cock. Interviewer. "Do you know how to swim?" Me. UMN. No. Interviewer. "Get out. Were you applying to be a lifeguard?" LMAO. Nope. Software engineer. "You have to know how to swim in order to surf the web safely." This is one of those stupid tests that bosses who think they have everything figured out do. If a guy doesn't know how to swim means he doesn't want to take risks and put himself out there. Doesn't want to test new waters. Do not need people like that around here. Had an interviewer who unexpectedly asked me what my spirit animal was at the end of the interview. I did not know what to say, but the first thing that popped out of my head was a bear, because the thought of hibernating and being lazy on cold season sounds like something I'd do. It's the most stupidest reply I could give. He ended up being one of the best, if not the nicest and funniest boss I ever had. M61. Late 70s State College. I was looking for a part-time gig while going through school. Dude at a small engineering firm called me in response to my resume and arranged a 7 PM interview since I had class till 6. First 20 minutes were fun and fairly standard questions. He then pulls out a few ink blot type sheets of paper and asks, "What do you see?" Nothing struck me, so he folded the paper in half and held it up to the light. The images blended to become a silhouette of a guy on all fours getting boned in the backside by another guy. I noped the hell out of there and surprisingly did not get hired. Sadly I'm oozing now, as I was far more innocent and did not appreciate the sketchiness of that situation. I hope the guy was not ever successful in conning naive undergrads to work there after hours with him. My first job was at a big medical center, where I had worked part-time in a related department. I was being hired to work for Gary, and was being interviewed by Gary and his boss Niels as well as several other people. I was invited to a staff meeting just before the interview started. No one introduced me to anyone, and must have figured I knew everyone, and so I went through a day talking to all these people not sure who was who. Significantly, I mixed up Gary and Niels, since Gary acted like the top man, and was very dominating, whereas Niels said hardly anything. Somehow I got hired and worked there for many years. Very first job I interviewed for was a movie theater, while I was still in high school. Manager. "Are you available Sunday morning?" Me. "Yes, I have open availability." Manager. "So you do not attend church Sunday morning?" Me. "No. I'm free." Manager. "Oh. So you're gonna burn in hell." Me. Sorry. Manager. "Nothing, it's fine." I was in an interview for a college scholarship, not a job, in black, and was being interviewed by a panel of 4 white interviewers and 1 black interviewer. One of the white interviewers asked me how was growing up with both parents. The black interviewer and I immediately locked eyes and he gave me a knowing look. I do not remember how I answered, but I got the scholarship. Unfortunately that is all there is for this video, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Reddit Rainforest. Thanks for watching.